All right, welcome back. We do apologize for that glitch there, but we're back, and we have our guests with us, joining us virtually, of course, Barrister Jimmy Abia, and also in-house we have a VOP in-house political analyst Cyril Abaku. All right, let's first of all confirm, Barrister Jimmy. Good morning once again.
Good morning. My pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much, and we do apologize. Now, you had a question for him.
Barrister, I asked you a question earlier before the break where I asked you that it was already anticipated that we'll get more increase, on pump price. Eventually, it happened. But then the palliative measures that the government said they were going to implement has not been done. And Nigerians are still trying to get out of the initial shock, the drastic subsidy removal. So how do we cope from here? What exactly should Nigerians do with this development?
I think what has happened is that the government actually put the cart before the horse. That's what has happened. And it owes to insincerity in government, in the way Nigerians are being governed. Let me tell you why it is so. I expected that when the government came in, the first things that the government was going to do was look at those, because it was said that this subsidy is fraud and all that. First of all, determine who are those defrauding Nigerians. Then secondly, work on getting the refineries working. Now, if at least there were 2 refineries working in Nigeria, you would have the local production. So it would not be dependent on international market prices, because you will no longer need to be buying your fuel abroad. But what we have was that the government put the cart before the horse, withdrew the subsidy, and was talking about some 800 million that was borrowed for palliatives and how it was going to be shared. So you see that the mentality of the government is still the mentality of the ones before it, about sharing, about how to share, and not about how to generate. Because you would expect that a government that says it's going to be saving so amount, about 7 trillion from withdrawal of subsidy, should not be going borrowing, because you're saving money. Then where are you putting the money you will be saving? Then do you understand? So that's what I'm saying. So why are you going to borrow again?
All right. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned the money.
And then you see what has happened is that because we do not have functional refinery, what has happened is that when they import, because
All right, we seem to be experiencing a glitch there. Cyril Abaku, MOMAN, that is the Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, have actually stated that towards the end of this month, they will definitely, most of the produce that they have actually ordered for will berth at the port, and that Nigerians should expect a reprieve later. That is, pump price will definitely come down. But we don't know the certainty of that, because that is how we heard about the Dangote refinery and other refineries that they told us would commence operations about this month. So in the meantime, before then, how should Nigerians cope? What are the alternative measures that should be implemented by Nigerians to cope with this hike in pump price?
There are 2 assumptions in your question. One is that, indeed, there is going to be reprieve at the end of the month.
Okay.
There's no guarantee.
Yes.
The NNPC boss, speaking on behalf of Dangote, I don't know if he was hired to be the spokesman for that moment. I asked him about Dangote, said that even when Dangote's refinery will be producing at its optimum, the price of petrol wouldn't come down. He said it in his own words. We can quote him. The other thing is, when you said the price of petrol will come down to what?
To what?
Only 2 days ago, news came out that inflation had gone up again.
22.79%.
Okay, from wherever it had gone up. So it means that effectively, inflation simply means ballooning or skyrocketing in the price of goods and services.
Serial 5 times this year.
Good. So when you see, and have people's earning power increased 5 times this year? It has not. So there's a disparity. So when you say there will be reprieve or there will be some cushioning, what cushioning? How do you expect cushioning to come from private businessmen? I don't see that coming. It is only government that feels beholden to the people because you don't pay taxes to private business people. How do you think they've even done the computing where at the time they got their licenses, even the state-controlled NNPC, because NNPC still belongs to federal government, was selling petrol at 500 something naira to a liter, by 5.8 something naira to a liter. Only yesterday they've raised it, ostensibly, as I told Moses earlier this morning, because the dollar, with you don't buy the petrol overseas.
That was basically what they said was the reason.
In naira, of course. So what made the dollar go up? Everything goes back around government. Everything goes back because the same government that floated the dollar, and yet it is and yet we find it sinking. The same government that is working in cahoots to the NNPC to raise prices. The same government that came back yesterday to say, okay, look, we've seen. They didn't admit it, but I mean, anybody who can cross eyes and dot the T's knows. Sorry, dot the T's and cross the eyes knows that the president yesterday ordered the review of the 8,000 naira to be given to 12 million families because the price of fuel has also gone up. Okay, so you cannot look at all of these things and then tell us that when we import fuel by the end of this month, it is going to come down. Come down to what? As it is today, even if fuel came down to a half of what it is right now with the NNPC,
it's still high.
It's still very high. So come down to what? If we continue at this rate, people are going to go bankrupt. And we are saying this thing, the amount of suffering and the ripple effect of suffering is getting thicker and stronger by the day.
Already, Cyril, as of yesterday, fuel queues were already being experienced across major filling stations in Lagos. And then there was already some rioting taking place in some areas because of the hike. The frustration has gotten to a height whereby Nigerians are literally almost giving up. The Dele Aleke said yesterday evening that Nigerians should please, no, not Dele Aleke, I think George Akume, said Nigerians should please bear with the federal government, that most of the measures being implemented is for their benefit. But the question a lot of Nigerians are asking is, at what point will we get this benefit you keep telling us about? You told us before, during the campaign, that you were going to implement measures that will help us breathe. The poor and the vulnerable begin to benefit from your administration. Cyril Abako, from May 29 up till now, Nigerians have not had any breathing space. It's been one particular frustrating moment to the other. Like you rightly said, inflation has gotten to a high of 22.79% from 22.41%, the 5th time this year. So at what point do you think Nigerians will begin to believe whatever it is the presidency said?
No. If it was only on the grounds of government policy, we are enlightened enough to know that what government is doing is either for our benefit or not.
Okay.
And I'm coming at a point, if you bear with me. The other thing is to be sincere. Why some of us support subsidy removal is because, you see, no matter what we will be required to pay and the losses we are going to incur to our personal finances and so on, what government was doling out in the name of subsidy payments was way bigger. So in the end, the nation was losing.
Okay.
But if you want to address the matter of subsidy and tell me that it is in my benefit, I should bear with you, I don't think that you alone should unilaterally set or determine what will be of my benefit in the future. Yeah. I think I should have a say in it. That's one. Okay. Secondly, is the fact that, like Barrister Abia was saying earlier, the subsidy money was stolen money. People are looting that money. Also, people came with subsidy claims when they were not importing anything. So that hemorrhage, who then addresses it? The money, if my money was being lost there, don't tell me that it's my benefit that I should suffer now. Why should you? How about the money that was being? Because you get my argument now?
All right, Barrister Abia, we hear that you have joined us again. Good morning once again, Barrister Abia.
Why then? Yes. So why shouldn't we also have a say to say, look, subsidy has to go, it's fine. But who are those who are looting this nation blind in the name of subsidy payments? Because if you recoup those monies, we won't have to suffer as much as we're suffering before we get to El Dorado. Okay? So why should
400 billion
every
saved
month,
last month.
every month,
From last month alone,
every
400
month
billion.
was
Where is
going, and you've not even accounted for that money.
it? The one that was saved.
Of course, you've not. So when you say it's in our interest, of course we are enlightened enough to know. But if the process is not transparent and is not fair, why should we expect a fair outcome?
Fitzgerald, shouldn't this administration commence in probing where these monies are going to? A couple of critics have said that corruption cannot fight corruption, or if there are a lot of hedges around an individual, you cannot expect anything in terms of objectivity or transparency from that individual. I think that's basically the crux of the situation. We need to say that as it is. These are the feelers, these are the perception, you know, on the street. So if that is already the scenario, how should Nigerians put that aside and expect anything better or untoward that may be different from what they have been experiencing with past administrations?
So they can't put that aside because it's a fact, because it's a known fact. Like I said, it's like saying shed your blood to lose weight. Come on, why did I pay you as my gym instructor? Don't tell me to shed my. Your work is to train me. You know, is to put me through my paces so I can shed weight, and not ask me to go and shed blood. That's what they are doing. You have not addressed the reason why subsidy wasn't working.
Okay.
But you've come to me to say pay the price for subsidy to work, so that those who looted the country will gladly and happily take the loot away. I don't think it's balanced really. And if that's your method for dealing with the problem, I cannot trust the solution you're promising me. That's the reality. So back to the matter she has raised. Number one, the way our society is organized, right? We're not a dictatorship, so it's a democracy as it were. There are institutions that can take on this issue. In 2012, when subsidy was about to be taken away, and fuel was to be sold at just a part 140 naira per liter, it was the ACN then that stood up as an opposition wing for the people, as it were, to fight subsidy. The political party was there, the labor unions were there, students were there. You know,
the Occupy Nigeria protest that
it
took
was
place.
basically called Occupy Nigeria. That was how that subsidy move was turned back. When the NSAS thing came, when police brutality reached a height, it was NSAS. So you cannot really organize popular resistance to anything. But there could at some point be a demonstration, not march on the street, but like, you know, of public angst, of public disapproval of what government is doing. So for example, the labor union has said they will take matters into their hands. That's a strong statement.
Okay.
That's a very strong, it's loaded. So if there can be constructive, critical engagement of government to say, don't you even see that this thing you're doing does not sit well? Look, there are many persons that may not even complain this much if government will come out to say, we've saved 400 billion and this is what we're going to do with it in the next 5 years, in the next 2 years, in the next 1 year. People will see the picture, but they're not communicating that to us. In fact, you read press releases, press statements, and they are
vague.
They are borderline vague, borderline
ambiguous.
You know, so it's neither here nor there. That's not how to run a government.
Sarah, do you recall?
Okay. The president's spokesman is saying, the president has ordered a review of 8,000 naira, whatever it is, and then the SGF is saying, bear with us. See, there is a way a layman will talk. There is a way a learned, educated, enlightened policymaker speaks. There are very few offerings on the table. Okay? There are very few concrete offerings on the table. The hue and cry over the meager sum of 8,000 naira had been there from the get-go, from the day the president made the announcement about 8,000 naira to 12 million families for 6 months. The president traveled. This is the president who has all the technocrats, all the experts, all the thinkers, all the innovators, all the economists, all the philosophers working with him. So I wonder why he had to come back from Kenya to say he had ordered the review of them. Who is doing the review? His technical team, right? But I thought, I mean, even from Kenya, they could have done that review. He would have simply come to say, we've raised that money. But it's when he's come back now, we are now being told that he has ordered a review, which means it may take another 1 week or 2 weeks. You don't, like I said, in my view, we are not handling this thing the best way I thought we would have been able to handle it.
I was trying to ask you a
yeah.
question, Cyril. You recall the initial time when subsidy was removed, the NLC was in a dialogue with the government, Dele Alake and a couple of top government will I say personnel, and there were, will I say, propositions on the table as to what the federal government could do or can do to cushion the effect of this subsidy removal. After then, we've not heard anything. We've not heard what the conclusion of that meeting was about. Later on, we heard that Joe Ajaro's home was, put on fire. Whatever the cause, we have not heard anything about it.
And whoever the arsonist were, we don't know.
We haven't known anything. And it happened to be that when that happened, Joe Ajaro kind of stayed back. We've not really heard anything from him. It almost feels like his response to this development, it's like Nigerians expect him to respond. But that impulsive attitude of the NLC, we're not
charismatic.
Oh, exactly. We're not seeing that now.
Yes.
So do you think that the NLC's head is being intimidated, or there is an intimidation in place preventing him from doing what the NLC ordinarily will have done?
Well, so I mean, if you read, if you saw yesterday's statement, which he single-handedly signed,
Okay.
it was potent, it was strong, it was forceful, it was vociferous. In fact, it was in the last words of that letter that he said the Labour will be forced to take matters into their own hands. That's one.
Okay.
Number two is the fact that I think where I differ with Labour
All right.
to an extent is they had the first meeting. I think Labour sort of came to the table believing that this is a government that understands, that listens, that will.
It's reasonable.
That's reasonable. But I think that trust has been sort of betrayed. First was that they had the first meeting. The TUC said minimum wage should be raised to 200,000. NLC said minimum wage should be raised to 150,000. Maybe they thought they could negotiate quickly and just move on, but that didn't quite happen. That meeting took, I think it was about after 2 weeks that they came back again, and then said that they are going to come back after 8 weeks. And I said, if they said that Labour is not reading, is not waking up to smell the coffee, or it's not Labour as we think they should be.
What they said was they will have meetings, then they will implement processes that will culminate into 8 weeks. And on the 8th week, everything, Nigerians will get to know everything, the process of implementation. All the other things will have been, infused into it, and, will be delivered in 8 weeks.
Yes.
And 8 weeks should be sometime in August.
Yes.
And we are close to it, actually.
Yes, but
we haven't heard anything.
No.
Prior to
exactly.
now.
Exactly. I was thinking that because of the nature of the subsidy problem challenge and everything that goes with it, and because Nigerians will be impoverished, and I thought that the matter could have been given some more urgency. Okay, what I discussed in it now, within the 8 weeks, government see the number of things government has done. Government has talked about on its own 8,000 naira to 6 million families. That's like going behind Labour to ambush Labour. They've talked of then NNPC has raised the price of fuel one more time. I mean, so Moses, does it really seem like there's a negotiation going on? Is there a discussion going on?
It doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't seem like it.
Honestly.
So that's where I fought Labour. But seeing what the president wrote yesterday, it was a bit. I would have wished that NLC and TUC jointly issued that statement yesterday. To send a signal to government that we are one. You can't.
Together.
Yes, we're
There's
together.
no divide and rule.
There's no divide and rule, but so I don't know if Labour itself, has become a giant working on clay feet. But we hope, quite frankly speaking, we hope that there will be engagement, whether it's Labour, whether it's the political parties, whether it is student unions. Somehow, voices must come up to say, look, this policy will not take us to where we are going.
All right.
Because apparently, even when government has decided to overlook investigating the subsidy looters and wants to just work with taking away subsidy and then beginning everything on a clean slate, it appears that it is looking tougher even for them than they thought it would be.
All right. Well, we have John Akirele joining us virtually. Good morning to you, John.
Morning for having me.
All right, John. John is a VOP. I can call him a roving analyst in diaspora. A VOP analyst in diaspora. Now, John, yesterday the news broke that NNPC had pegged fuel price at 617 naira a liter, and apparently that will now trickle down to all the other oils suppliers, and then we know that if NNPC is pegging it at a certain price, it won't be the same price in certain parts of the country, because prices are determined by distance, from the ports to where the consumers get to use them. Now, what do you make of this news and the fact that NLC is also saying that, look, we will not take this line down. We will. Well, I don't want to use the word revolt, but we will respond to this. What's your take?
Thank you for having me. I think for me, the bone of contention is when the government does not consult with stakeholders before making pronouncement and pronunciation, or even proclamation. I would have expected, even when the president came in and the first statement was to remove subsidies, and that brought about reaction. And looking for some of the reaction was that the NLC, that they need to engage them. They need to sit on the round table and make negotiations as to how they can bring up stuff, how they can, improve the risk and the working of workers, so that we can have a balanced society. But as it is now, if they are paying the price of 600 naira, let's use that anything that happens to the price of pump price being increased, every other thing jump at that price as well. So you have somebody who is buying tomatoes, a bag of tomatoes from Maxwell, from Ikorodu, and before now he or she used to transport herself 200 naira. For now she's paying 800 naira. And even with her basket she's paying about 1,500. Now what that means is that automatically the price of in our own domain will go up increase. The number of tomatoes she sells will also decrease. Okay, and that is what happens to every commodity that we have. Even though that important transportation is the bane of business, and that's why it's affecting every asset. So I would have expected that the government would have, engaged more with NLC, sit down with them and tell them this is what the government wants to do. That is transparency in communication. It means that this is what the government do, and how can NLC and the government work together on the same table, so that you can have good pronunciation that everybody can be happy with it. So increase in fuel price would be increase in everything, even in the air you breathe in Nigeria.
Even in the air we breathe in Nigeria. That's an interesting way that's an interesting way to put it. Oh well, John. Well, we are moving to another topic now because of time. Now, the SSS, that's the State Security Service, yesterday profiled and battled Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele as a member of the indigenous people of Biafra, that's IPOB, for hiring the service of an Abuja-based criminal attorney, Maxwell Okpara, as his counsel against charges of unlawful firearms possession that was recently filed against him by the secret police. Now, in a tweet that has attracted broad criticism from the people, from Nigerians, the secret police tried to create a logically non-existing nexus between Okpara's representation of Emefiele and IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, implying that the suspended banker had become a member of the group for hiring its lawyer. Now, the service also used inappropriate words to disparage the lawyer in grossly unprofessional ethnic profiling meted out to the duo. Now, the secret police, I dare say, derogatorily referred to Mr. Okpara as a charge and bail, overzealous, uninformed IPOB ESN lawyer. Harsh words. And impugned his professional decision to represent individuals under trial, including heads of organizations such as the proscribed IPOB, whose designation as a terrorist organization has been controversial owing to its political implications. Now, Okpara has recently been vocal about the conditions and treatment of Kanu, who has been in the SSS custody since June 2021, when he was illegally abducted from Kenya. Now, in a manner which several legal minds have criticized as criminal in itself. The SSS on several occasions refused Mr. Kanu's access to his lawyers, family members, and doctors, and he's been kept in solitary confinement. Now, the lawyer also recently took up Mr. Emefiele's brief after his arrest, which was initially justified by his recklessness in office, turned political following disobedience to court orders and extra legal tactics that the SSS played to keep the banker in their custody without trial. Now, what's your reaction to the what's your reaction really to the fact that the SSS is, verbally, this seems like a verbal intimidation of the lawyer, and shouldn't anyone determine who their legal counsel is regardless of an affiliation?
I think for me it's a sad one. It's a sad one because this is a so-called prestigious institution. And from this statement, it is clear that what is happening to Godwin Emefiele, the embattled billions of President government, is more political. And what we're thinking is political. From that statement that we have read alone, it shows that the handwriting is still on the wall. Now you see that instead of us to build strong institutions, we build strong people. And we forget that some people will die. Even when they get 100 years or 150 years, they'll still die. Institution remains. Okay? History of a school will go, and that history will come. But the school remains. Some of you say great effect. You know how many students have passed through the school? It means that the school remains. We should understand that we should be strong institutions, and people who are spokespersons for some of these be very careful. You have seen the perspective of the whole country at stake by your press release and statement. This statement for me is unprofessional, it's uncultural, and it is not even to the global standard. Would you see an FBI issue such a statement? Yes, it's like our own FBI. And I think they should be more responsible in their approach to people, approach to things, whenever it comes to the issue of the public. If every other person can open their mouth and talk anyhow, I don't think they should be able to say that. Now, profiling Okpara, a lawyer, as somebody who is an IPOB and DSS lawyer, also is under derogatory statement that should be withdrawn and an apology to Mr. Okpara. Now, this is it. And I think it has been an issue of our government. When you are not in support of things, you are in support of the agenda and all of that, they look for something to rope you in. And I'm not surprised that Godwin Emefiele now is being roped as an IPOB member. But before now, this was still the same person that served with the cabinet of Muhammadu Buhari. Why was he not being around as an SPA member? Why was all these allegations all seen at that point in time? I think this calls for so many questions. So if you say it was immunity, now there's no immunity. If you have anything against it, bring it up on a plain and transparent manner, rather than using ethnic profiling and issuing bigoted statements that can even tear the country apart. I think the DSS should do more better, and they should be more mature in terms of their public engagement.
All right, John. So this, I want to paint a picture first, so that you can possibly respond appropriately. The DSS wrote a petition against Godwin Emefiele. The first of all stated that he is involved in terrorism-related, activities. And then the court at the time turned down the DSS. They eventually had an opportunity, right, to file a charge against him. And what they did was to actually file a charge that the police should have actually handled, whereby they said that he was in possession of a shotgun and some live round of ammunition. Now, he got a representative, a legal representative. And the DSS, again, I really need you to help me break down what we have become as a nation, what our security department has become. They now literally said that just because he actually took on the service of a lawyer whom he felt would properly represent him. They profiled him to be an IPOB member because that particular lawyer was one who was a defendant to any IPOB individual or the IPOB organization. They went as low as calling out profanities against Emefiele. Do you think that the DSS has actually tried, and they've gotten to a limit, they really do not have anything whatsoever, as a form of evidence to charge against Emefiele, that they had to stoop this low, in presenting their case against him?
I want to believe that it's not the first time something of this sort. Look at the case of African. When you get to the court and the court is released, that's when the point and that injunction, and the court has even wrote every that the country to be released. You see that they just look for frivolous allegations for no reason. All right? And that is why once they are against you, you look for every other thing. They can say the car you are driving, even the tire of the vehicle and the fire. They can say the fuel in the tank of your car is a result of a bunker product that you bought from the creek, and not from the refilling station. And they look for all manner of things. And it's appalling. It's appalling because when you look at younger generation and they get such news about Nigeria, it's starting their heart. They're like, this is the country we call our home. And I think we should do better because of what the generation that are looking up to us as a country. There are other young people looking up to Nigeria and believing that the country will get it right. But with this statement for us, you are even chasing more of them away from the country. And I think to this issue, we are not saying the message is a mistake. But if you want to even prove it, you have to, can we do it in a normal way that people will see it fair, as being transparent, as being open. I'm not against you charging somebody, but when you are labeling it and his lawyer as an IPOB member, where have you been all this while? Where have you been all this while? Why not bring up this issue that is an IPOB member before now? When there were issues of lawyers time, why not talk of those issues then? Now that his own president is out of office and you have a new president in town, and now you are coming up with all sorts of, allegations, all sorts of, things that are even funny. But and I still want to say it is that we should be careful when it comes to governmental institutions. And we should be careful for the time that, this republic and business are regulated. Why? Because it is very critical. Personally, it's not only to Nigeria, and when some other international bodies look at the kind of message and messages that come from our own DSS, and they ask you a question, are you saying that your own top security apparatus in the country? Is that your own secret police and they can use such a statement? Then we become a laughing stock at the global stage. I think we stop because of this.
Now, John, let's well, unfortunately, I don't know if you can see the screen. If you can see the screen, we want to put up the tweet that came from the DSS. It felt a little bit personal. Yes, it felt personal. It felt like the handler was just expressing his own view, but I don't know if the DSS should come out to refute it, and I don't know if they have, tweeted or retweeted something else to counter that one. But let's put up that tweet so we get to check out their exact words. All right, so there you have it. Department of State Services, charge and bail overzealous uninformed IPOB ESN lawyer Maxwell Okpara mobilizes other like-minded lawyers against DGSS. Futile efforts. Well, Nigerians, beware. This is in bad faith. Transferred aggression.
Moses, don't you think that transferred aggression is actually from the DSS
It doesn't even
to Emefiele?
It doesn't even end there. Let's take the other one.
Absolutely.
It says a Biafran Republic agitator and outlawed IPOB Counsel defending the suspended CBN governor. Is IPOB defending one of theirs? Question mark. What a contradiction. I don't even understand what the contradiction is. He said, what's the connection? Question: is someone telling us something? May Maxwell be properly educated on points of law, please. Now, this just feels like okay. That's the other part of it. Now, John, this just feels like initially when the DSS charged him, or when the DSS tried to say, okay, he's financing terrorists, like they didn't exactly have anything. That's what it feels like. It feels like they didn't exactly have anything. All right, they said that, and then they went to work to see, okay, can we get something to back this up? And then when they did not get anything, and I said, okay, let's just hold him down first.
Moses, did you recall that just a few days ago, questions were being asked as to why they kept this man for a whole month? And then when they eventually placed their charge at whatever petition against him, so it was... So a lot of legal practitioners said that possibly they were trying to create a delay tactics where they could aggressively look for anything or whatsoever, John, to implicate him.
John is the guest. So, John, you've seen that. You've seen the tweet.
I think for me, if I were to be the DG of the DSS, that person who put out such a statement should be dismissed immediately.
Should be dismissed.
Why? Because you are putting the integrity of the institution at stake. Maybe you should also know that before you spoke, as the handler now, DSS has been existing. And even after it's dead, even when it's about 1 or 2 years old or 200 years, as it may be, and he died, DSS is still ready. And so we should be careful when we are representing an institution that is even bigger than our generation, that is bigger than our family, that is bigger than ourselves. That's the sector of over 200 million Nigerians. And so we should be careful when we have sentiments, we should not bring up sentiments when it comes to the issue of institution. When it comes to giving out professional staff, comes in. And you're telling me that this person must be a trained communicator and is a trained personnel. I think he has just wasted all the funds for training for himself. And I think it's not even fit to be in that position. And DSS should look at a way of getting somebody who is more professional, who is more, how would I put this word now, who can even communicate the terms and conditions of DSS in a clear way. That does not even white sentiment, that does not even bring about bigotry, that does not bring about. You don't need to abuse somebody before your point is passed across. So I think DSS, they should be more professional. This person in question has shown that he is bringing his own personal sentiment above that of the institution. And that's not what the show stands for. I think that should be corrected. So I think DSS should come out and give a release, a statement that shows that that's what the institution stands for, according to their own ethics, their ethos, and their model of operandi. That's what DSS is doing. I think can do better.
All right, then. Except, of course, if the person is speaking the mind of his of the entire organization, which one cannot overlook. It might just be.
That's not the mind of the entire organization, because in DSS you have people from outside, from Fulani, you have from Yoruba, you have Igbo, you have the Delta, you have the Church, you have the Yoruba, you have the Tifri, you have the videos. So that is not the view of every society of DSS. I'm very sure of that. And so this person is just being personal. And I think the institution supersedes his personal sentiment. And I think that's what you should do. So keep your personal sentiment to yourself. Rather, let the institution approach take its course and not personal sentiment in this case. So if you have any issue with Maxwell Okpara, let him do that from his own personal angle and take Okpara himself.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today. That's John Akerele from Diaspora joining us
our roving analyst
VOP this morning. All right, so we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be going into business, entertainment, and sports. Stay with us.